and welcome back to my channel. My name is Victoria, and in today's video I am so excited to be part of the virtual tour for the Ivies by Alexa Donne. I've been following Alexa Donne's writing channel for quite a few years now, and I have recently started getting into thrillers. So when I found out that she was moving from science fiction into the thriller genre, I knew that I had to get a hold of this book. I was so excited then to be given an arc and to be chosen to be part of the tour for this book. In this stop on the tour, I will be reviewing the Ivies as well as sharing some of my thoughts that I had while reading. Because this book isn't out yet, although when this comes out, it may have been released, but I will keep this video spoiler free so that you can watch and enjoy and get excited for the Ivies without having anything spoiled for you. Before we get into it, there is also a giveaway happening for this book. Be aware this is only open to US residents, but if that is you, then up for grabs is one copy of the Ivies by Alexa Donne. It runs from May 23rd to May 30th at 12 a.m. CST. To enter, click the link in my description. So what is the Ivies? As I said, this is Alexa Donne's first YA thriller, and it is essentially a murder mystery set in the context of prep school university applications. Everyone knows the Ivies, the most coveted universities in the United States. Far more important are the Ivies at Claflin Academy, that is. 5 girls with the same mission: to get into the Ivy League by any means necessary. Our protagonist, Olivia, would know, since she's one of them. She and her fellow Ivies disrupt class ranks, club leaderships, and academic competitions, among other things. They improve their own odds by decreasing the fortunes of others, because hyper-elite competitive college admissions is serious business, and in some cases, it's deadly. When one of the Ivies is murdered, and it looks like that group could be responsible, Olivia sets out to prove herself and her friends' innocence. In the Ivies, Alexa Donne delivers a nail-biting and timely thriller about teens who will stop at nothing to get into the college of their dreams. Too bad no one told them murder isn't an extracurricular. So now that you're a little bit aware about what the Ivies is and what it's about, let's jump into my review and my thoughts. Overall, I loved this book. I ranked it 4 out of 5 on Goodreads, and I will get a little bit into why with no spoilers. I think this book's greatest strength is its plot. This book is, as the synopsis says, a nail-biter. I honestly flew through it. I was intending to kind of just devour it slowly and take notes for this review, but as soon as I started reading it, I couldn't stop and I just binged it in a couple of sittings. It's gritty and dark and sexy, not in like a sexual way, just kind of in like the flashy kind of way, if that makes any sense. There are so many twists and turns in this that just keep you riveted. Even though the concept, that is a bunch of friends getting together to sabotage other friends just to get into college, is a little bit larger than life, I liked how that provided a vehicle to kind of explore the very real stress that a lot of students have surrounding college and how competitive it really is. The second thing that I love about this book is the main character's voice. The beginning of the book does involve a lot of telling and information, but the main character is so fully realized and her commentary is seriously hilarious. So rather than feeling like you're kind of thrust into this world and trying to absorb all the information, you're really following this one character and getting her witty, sarcastic commentary on things, so it's hilarious and super engaging. Of course, this review is going to include no spoilers, so I can't tell you why, but my notes for this book are full of me just being like, damn! Or like, oh my gosh, that just happened. It's super intense and exciting. I would describe this book really as Pretty Little Liars meets Gossip Girl. Now, I haven't read either of those book series, so when I make that comment, I'm referring to the TV shows. It's got the kind of toxic friend group murder mystery element of Pretty Little Liars, but also the ridiculous, excessive wealth of Gossip Girl. This is a super random side note, which is not really a spoiler, but it's something that I found funny. There's a lot of descriptions of how Olivia, the main character, uses her cell phone and like the actual, you know, like swiping up or clicking on this or whatever. And like, I'm an iPhone girl, and so the whole time I was like, what kind of phone is she using? Like, I don't understand these directives. Like, my phone doesn't look like that. So I have like a bunch of notes being like, what kind of phone is this every time it comes up? And then I think there was like some passing comment about how she's like an Android girl. And I was like, oh. Because the whole time I was like, this isn't how my cell phone works. I'm so confused. Overall, the combination of the super gripping plot and the really engaging main character makes this just an utterly fascinating, gripping read. I feel like I've used the word gripping a lot, but like really it does. Like you start reading and you're just in it, and there's so much intense stuff going on and you really want to know the answer to the mystery. So that's why I gave it 4 stars overall, because this was super enjoyable. I would highly recommend it to anyone that likes YA thriller. I'm gonna get into why I took 1 star off and some of my critiques of this book, but I just want to make it clear from the beginning that this book is awesome. Like, especially if you're a plot reader, it will suck you in, and it's great for a binge read. Particularly as we come into summer, it's the perfect kind of like lighthearted binge read. Although lighthearted is maybe the wrong word. It's like if you beach reads for people that like their books to be gritty. Does that make any sense? Okay, so all of that said, let's get into a few of my critiques and why this book was not a 5-star for me. Overall, I would say that this book focuses more on plot rather than character. So for me personally, because I am more of a plot reader, I actually don't really find this to be a deal breaker. However, I do think if you're more interested in character, then you might find this to be a little bit shallow. Though that said, most thrillers do focus, I think, a lot more on the plot, because that is often why people read this genre. But that said, I found most of the characters to be a little bit flat. I don't mind this so much in the side characters, because how much character development can you really do when you're trying to tell a fast-paced mystery in a short book? But I would say that the main character in particular is the reason why I took 1 star off. She begins the book as a scholarship kid at this prep school, so she's a bit of an outsider. She is desperate to fit in and to be able to compete with the elite of society in their academic context. And so in some sense, she's willing to kind of do whatever it takes. She's willing to sacrifice her character and to be a little bit shady to get ahead. That's kind of the main reason that she joins the Ivies in the beginning. Much in the way that Dan in Gossip Girl looks at this world and longs to be part of it, but is always held at an arm's length from it, this is very much Olivia at the beginning. She disdains a lot of the things that her classmates do and yet is willing to go to that level. My one issue with this is that by the time we get to the end of the novel and all of these things have happened, there's been a murder, secrets have been unveiled, people are not who she thought they were, she gets to the end of the story, and she remains in much the same place. Because of that, there's never any kind of commentary on the elite society except to say that people in the middle class long to be a part of it. In that sense, despite everything that happened, I didn't feel like Olivia was particularly affected by the things that happened to her, or any of the events in the story. I would have liked to see some kind of character growth and commentary on the society. I don't really care what direction authors take with themes, so long as they're trying to actually show something, particularly when you're dealing with the world of the elite and the excessively wealthy, especially told from the perspective of an outsider. I feel like this provides a really good opportunity for the character to conclude something about that society. So whether it's that all these people she thought were selfish and horrible actually have a lot more to them and are good people and have something going on behind the scenes, that's one option. Or on the other hand, maybe she concludes that excessive wealth just corrupts people excessively and there is no kind of redemption for them. She is better off outside of that world. These are kind of opposing ideas, but either could have been communicated through this kind of story. Likewise, Olivia is part of the Ivies, this group of students willing to go to any lengths to get ahead, including sabotaging people or doing other morally questionable things. Olivia is part of this group, and so, like I said, in some way she's willing to do those kinds of things, but throughout the story we always see her presenting her motivations as more justifiable than the other Ivies. In some ways, I think this is because she is a lower class than them. She assumes that she is allowed to do bad things to put herself on the same level as the other Ivies who do bad things for their own sake when they're already equipped with everything they need to get ahead in life. And yet, Olivia does do many of the same things that her Ivy counterparts do. She participates in her own schemes, she joined the group in the first place, and so I would have liked to see her wrestle through what that means. Underneath it all, Olivia and the other Ivies all have the same motivation, which is to get into a top college and to be willing to do whatever is necessary to get there. So in that sense, me as a reader saw Olivia as the same as her fellow Ivies, and yet she sees herself always as apart from that, more justifiable and different. So this would have provided an opportunity for her to see that despite their class distinctions, they really are the same. Whether this means that she has a more forgiving heart towards her wealthy counterparts, or decides that she's not going to be that kind of person and exits that group. Either way, I would have just liked to see her wrestling through what this means in her life and coming to some kind of conclusion. But instead, we see her at the end of the novel in much the same place as the beginning, still feeling like she's an outsider, but still having luxury as her highest aspiration. There's no kind of commentary given, therefore, on what it means to chase wealth as the highest aspiration and what it means for some people to be unable to attain it. In the final scene, Olivia's thoughts remain much the same as they were at the beginning, where she's frustrated with this world of the elite that always holds her outside it, and yet she's still willing and determined to eventually break through. The result is that there's very little character growth and very little theme communicated, except to say that luxury is a worthwhile aspiration. Along similar veins, another thing that I struggled with is that Olivia constantly feels like she is poor in comparison to her classmates. There's a lot of talk given to how unfair it is that she is a lower class than them and that she's poor. But that said, she is solidly middle class. She's not a poor person at all. She's just not part of the excessively wealthy 1%. Yet globally, if you're middle class in the West, you are part of the 1% if we take every country into account. So that kind of left me feeling like she's guilty of the same selfish navel-gazing as her friends, and yet she's never self-aware enough to see it. So ultimately, that is why this book ended up being 4 stars for me. All that to say though, those were more of my final thoughts once I finished the book and kind of digested things. It really didn't affect my reading experience at all. I highly enjoyed this book for its plot and its character voice, its twists and turns, and so I did speed through it and adored it. It's just kind of when I started letting things percolate and trying to think on, what did this book have to say and how were things communicated, that I felt there were some things lacking in the character development. Overall though, this is indeed a nail-biting thriller that I adored, and I will definitely be rereading even though I know how it ends. If you are a fan of YA thrillers, I highly recommend you get your hands on a copy of The Ivies by Alexa Donne. Thank you so much for joining me on this stop of the Ivies tour. Be sure to click the link below to enter the giveaway. As well, there will be a buy link in the description, so if you're interested in purchasing the Ivies, you can do that with the click of your mouse. As always, thank you so much for watching, and thank you so much to Turn the Page Tours for allowing me to participate in this virtual tour for the Ivies. As always, I love you so much. Thank you for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye.